Greetings, mathematicians. Today we are going to focus on still 6, and 6, and proportions in percents, but now we are going to solve for the percent. So the percent is going to be our missing value. Again, make sure that you have a calculator in your note sheet ready, and we'll go through a few examples. Today you will be able to find percents using proportions. All right, here we go with some examples. You will notice that we put this little graphic on the top of the page for you, and we have this little same as arrow in the middle. So these are actually two different ways to think about how to set up your proportion. In the first one, we have percent over 100 is equal to part over whole, and that's what we were doing in all of chapter 6 so far. On the right hand side, we have percent over 100 is equal to is over of. And we're really going to be practicing how do we use this is over of to set up our proportions. All right, here we go. If we look at the first one, what percent of 64 is 16? So it's really all about the wording, and we can stop and think about it. When you say that and think about it at the same time, what percent of 64, of is going to be my whole, or my denominator, is 16, that is going to be my part, or my numerator. So again, my unknown for all of these problems today is going to be the percent. So x over 100 is equal to is over of. So part over whole. All right, so now I have 16 over 64, and we're always looking to be able to reduce. And you should recognize that 16 goes into 64. So 16 divided by 64, 16 divided by 16 will give you 1. And 64 divided by 16 will give you 4. So we can simplify that ratio on the right. Now I need to look to solve for x. Well, 4 times 25 will give me 100. So 1 times 25 will give me 25. And as a final answer, 25%. All right, our next problem is very similar to the first. What percent of 200 is 150? So which is the part and which is the whole? Hopefully you said that the 200 is the whole and the 150 is the part. So I'm going to put that into my proportion. X over 100 is equal to 150 over 200. And right away, you should see that 50 goes into both 150 and 200. So 150 divided by 50 gives me 3, just reducing my ratio, and 200 divided by 50 gives me 4. So again, 4 times 25 will give me 100. 3 times 25 will give me 75. So my answer is 75%. All right, the last one on this page is worded just a little bit differently. We have 9 is what percent of 25? Setting up my proportion exactly the same as the prior two. It's just worded. So 9 is, that's going to be my part, and of 25 will be my whole. And so I'm looking at that, and I'm not seeing anything that I can simplify right away, but I am noticing that maybe I don't want to simplify even if I could, because 25 times 4 will give me 100. 9 times 4 will give me 36. So my final answer is 36%. All right, we're going to go a little bit faster with these. Number 4, what percent of 30 is 18? So setting up my proportion, x over 100 is equal to 18 over 30. And I recognize that 6 goes into both 18 and 30. So 18 divided by 6 will give me 3. And 30 divided by 6 will give me 5. So 5 times 20 is 100, and 3 times 20 will give me 60. So my answer is 60%. All right, on to number 5. 180 is what percent of 240? So setting up my proportion, x over 100 is equal to 180 over 240. And those are awful big numbers, but we notice that 10 goes into both of those. So by dividing, I can take off the zeros on the end. So now I can just think about it as 18 over 24. And yes, those can be reduced because 6 goes into both of those. So then 18/24 becomes 3 over 4. And again, 4 times 25 will give me 100. So 3 times 25 will give me 75. And my final answer is 75%. Now, it's always a good thing to check back and see if my answer makes sense. If I had 180 out of 240 of something, would it make sense that that would be about 75%? And just estimating, I think that that would be a good answer, so then I know that I am at least close to the correct answer. On to number 6. What percent of 26 is 65? So x over 100 is equal to 65 over 26. Now right away, you should notice what's happening here. Our numerator is larger than our denominator. So we know that our percent is going to be over 100%. All right, so let's look. 65 and 26. Is there any common factors that go into both 65 and 26? And this is kind of a tough one, and so it might be good to just check with your calculator a little bit or use those divisibility rules that we learned earlier in the year. But I don't see anything that goes into both of those without doing a lot of work or using decimals. So I'm just going to leave it the way it is, and I'm going to use my calculator and take 65 divided by 26. And that is going to give me x over 100 is equal to 2.5. Now, if you remember back to solving equations, how do I get this x over 100? How do I get x by itself? Hopefully, you said multiply both sides by 100. And when I multiply both sides by 100, my 100s cancel, and all I have left is x. So x is equal to 250, or 250%. And as we said before, we knew our answer was going to be over 100%. Here we go, last problem. A camera regularly priced at $295 was placed on sale at $236. What percent of the regular price was the sale price? And so word problems can get a little tricky. We really got to think about what it's asking us. And so it's asking us what percent is the current sale price compared to the original price. And so again, we're looking for percent, so x over 100. And then this of helps us out a little bit. And so that tells us that our regular price is going to go on the bottom. And that is our whole. That's what the original price was. And then my part is going to be the sale price. And that goes in the numerator. So now I need to look and see, and these are big numbers, so sometimes it's hard to see, and you have your calculator so you can check, or you can use your divisibility rules for those two numbers. And if you do some checking, you will find out that they both have a 4 in common. And so 4 goes into both of them. And when you reduce them, you are going to get 4/5. Okay, and we know that 4/5, 5 times 20, will give me 100. So 4 times 20 will give me 80. Okay, so now we know that the answer is 80%. But if you were unable to find that can be reduced to 4/5, you could just take 236 divided by 295. And when you do that, you get 0.8. And so that's going to make sense because just like in the last problem, when we had to multiply both sides by 100, we can do the same thing here. And what we get is 80 or 80%. So either way is going to work when you're working with big numbers, whether you can reduce or whether you can solve like a proportion. All right, finish up your practice problems, and we'll see you in class tomorrow.